Okay, question 6. If you're going to multiply these two fractions together, anytime you're either adding, subtracting, multiplying or dividing fractions, you don't want to do it while you've got what we call mixed numbers, which is where you've got a whole number and a fraction. You want to change it, you always want to change them, whatever operation you're doing, whether it's add, subtract, times or divide, you always want to change them into improper fractions or top-heavy fractions, whichever you prefer. If you've forgotten how to do that, I've just written across the top. I mean, if you googled mixed numbers into improper fractions or converting mixed numbers into improper fractions, there'll be loads of resources that will show you loads of examples and you'll be able to learn how to do it if you put the time in. I'll give you a quick explanation. So 2 1/4, which is the same as 2 whole ones and 1/4, I could graphically, by splitting the 2 whole ones into quarters, show that 2 whole ones and 1/4 is the same as 9 quarters. I've written in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is the same as 9 quarters. 3 1/3, which is the same as 3 whole ones and 1/3. If I split the 3 whole ones into thirds, I can show that that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 thirds. The way that lots of people think of it, kind of the quick cheat method, is you times the whole number by the bottom number and then add on the numerator. So if it's 2 1/4, the denominator won't change when you go from mixed numbers to improper fractions. So 2 times 4 gives you 8, plus 1 gives you 9, that's the numerator. So the same with 3 1/3. The denominator doesn't change when you jump between them, just how many thirds is the same as 3 1/3? Well, I times the whole number and the bottom number. 3 times 3 gives me 9. I add on the top number, which gives me 10, so it's 10 over 3. Whichever way you do it, whether it's graphical or using this method, you get 9 over 4 and 10 over 3. Now, if I'm multiplying them, now I've converted them into improper fractions. When you multiply in fractions, you can just multiply across the top, and you can multiply across the bottom, and you've got 2 marks out of 3, but you haven't got all 3 marks, because it says give your answer as a mixed number in its simplest form. Okay, well, let's first of all get it in its simplest form. So 90 and 12, I can divide both of those by 6 to get 15 over 2. Now, if you've gone off to do some research into how you convert mixed numbers into improper fractions, you might also want to research how to go the other way, because 15 halves, if you want it as a mixed number, is 7 whole ones and 1 half. One way to do this is, if you think of like the old school primary school way of doing 15 divided by 2, instead of saying 7.5, you would have said 7 remainder 1. That ends up being 15 over 2 is 7 whole ones, and your remainder is how many halves you've got left. So 7 1/2 is the same as 15 halves, 15 over 2. That is your answer as a mixed number in its simplest form. Write the numbers 3, 4, 5 and 6 in the boxes to give the greatest possible total. You may write each number only once. Right, it's these boxes, the whole number bits, that are going to make the biggest difference. So you want your 2 biggest numbers in these 2 boxes. It doesn't matter which way around you put it. A 6 and a 5 or a 5 and a 6 there. That's going to take you all the way up to 11. If you put any of the other numbers, any of the other combination of numbers as the whole numbers, you're not going to get up to anywhere that's as big as 11 something. So now we just have to decide, now we've used 5 and 6, 3 and 4, where can I put these in here to get my biggest number? Well, I want whichever number down here makes this bit bigger, because there's 2 of this. So because a third is bigger than a quarter, it's the third bit that I'm going to double to try and make it as big as possible. So I'm going to use 2 thirds and only 1 quarter, because thirds are bigger than quarters. So 6 and 5 are my whole numbers because they're the biggest 2. And then when I've got 2 of something, I'm going to do 2 thirds and 1 quarter, because a third is bigger than a quarter. So just to make this clear, if you put the 5 and the 6 the other way around, that would also have been correct.